Hello, friends, welcome. Friends, when I saw this headline in the morning, I was pretty amused, though not surprised, because the viewers who are watching my channel must be knowing that I had already made this prediction. What is this headline? Geo seeks DOT not to use 5G for Wi-Fi. Now, those new viewers might find this headline very, very strange because 5G and Wi-Fi are two distinct technology. 5G is an advanced technology for to be used in licensed spectrum to enhance the capability of the spectrum, the licensed spectrum, to use data much more efficiently so that the throughput can increase. Wi-Fi is a quite old technology, though it is also getting improved, but it has to be used in a very small area of geography within your home for uncoordinated deployment where there are multiple people using the same block of spectrum. So it is an uncoordinated deployment, whereas 5G is an exclusive deployment in the licensed spectrum. Now, friends, why I am doing this video today? The reason I am doing this video today is because of two reasons. One is the implication of this headline. What is this headline means from the point of view of Geo, why Geo is looking towards using replacing 5G technology with Wi-Fi in the band 26 GHz band, which I have already predicted. The second reason which I am doing this video is to point to an hypocrisy, which is the operators talking about protecting a band, which is 6 GHz band for usage for 5G, though that band, if it is used, a portion of the band which is used for Wi-Fi is going to serve operators' interest. It is not going to serve anybody's interest. So these two contradictions, this contradiction of one hand, they are talking about deploying Wi-Fi in 5G band, and on the other hand, where Wi-Fi is enabled in a portion of the spectrum, which is the 6 GHz band, they are opposing that. So I just want to point to you the facts, and that's why this video is going to be pretty important, because people should know that there is no place for hypocrisy in policy. Either you go in a particular direction and be honest with what you want to achieve, because there is a business that you have to manage, and your responsibility is towards the customer as well as to your stockholders, right? But on the other hand, if you are going to make the same argument, right, from the other side of your mouth, and then argue in a completely different manner, right, this kind of creates contradiction and people lose credibility. That is why I'm doing this video, friends. So before I continue this video, I would like to read out certain portion of this story, because that will be very, very, very important. So what is this story talks about? The main headline says, Geo has approached the Department of Telecommunication DOT to use 26 GHz 5G spectrum for Wi-Fi, aiming for a hybrid deployment strategy to offer ultra-high broadband speed in dense urban area. Now, if 5G can offer ultra-high broadband speed, what is the point of using Wi-Fi in the same license spectrum over a much larger geography? Because Wi-Fi is never used for macro deployment. It's always for micro deployment. But let's go continue and read this, because that is more important, because that will give you the foundation of this discussion. Otherwise, this discussion won't make any sense. So Reliance Jio has approached Department of Telecommunication to use 26 GHz band, which we already says, and they are claiming that under clause 2.3 of the notice inviting applications, they are empowered to do so. And let's go to the clause 2.3 of NIA. So what is NIA? NIA is the document on which the auction took place. This is the foundation of the auction documents, where each and every aspect of the auction has been listed out. So how the band can be used, what is the price. So if you look at 2.3, which is the clause, you will find that it says the successful bidder shall provide details of technology proposed for deployment of operations. So they have given all freedom of its services using spectrum block assigned to the auction within 1 month of obtaining the license. If the technology happens to be GSM, WCDMA, LTE or 5G technology, then within 1 month, you give what technology you want to do, you are going to be allowed. In case it is going to be a different technology other than these technology which was mentioned above, while rolling out the network for compliance of the rollout obligation, information regarding the new technology should be given at least 6 months before any new technology base station site for offer for testing. The technology should be based on standard approved by TEC and ITU and other international standard bodies. So So when Jio says that I want to use this band for Wi-Fi services, they are well within their right because the NIA condition allows that, right? So it's very clear here. All this has been quoted here. And then if you go down below, it talks about that how the other bands like 3.5 gigahertz band is already used for Wi-Fi for 5G, and 5 gigahertz band, right, which is an unlicensed band, is already used for Wi-Fi, and Jio claims that they are achieving the similar speed what they have achieved in the 3.5 gigahertz band as per their FWA is concerned, right? And then it talks about how much the operators have spent. So this is the story, right? Now, you I just wanted to state here that there are two videos which I have done anchoring this aspect, which was more of a speculation. Now it has become a fact because of this article. So one is that Jio's UBR mystery, right? This I did 3 weeks back, where I spoke about 5 gigahertz band or 26 gigahertz band Wi-Fi, a deep dive into India's silent millimeter wave shift. And the other was how 26 gigahertz band became a goldmine, SUC loophole, FWA potential, regulatory jackpot for Jio and Airtel. Now, friends, I will paste the link of these video in the description because these videos are going to be pretty useful. Now, let's come to the objective of this video. The first objective is why? What is the reason for Jio seeking to deploy Wi-Fi in the 26 gigahertz band? Now, friends, this I had already discussed earlier. 26 gigahertz band is a band which has very low propagation characteristics, right? Therefore, deploying a macro network using 5G technology is going to be a challenge. And this is also true for Wi-Fi also. It is both same. The band, when you talk about propagation characteristics, the propagation characteristics, it is irrespective of what technology you are going to use. Whether you use Wi-Fi or you use 5G, it is the same. But the reason I am mentioning propagation characteristics because it kind of fundamentally changes the character of your base station deployment. It becomes more of a pole-based deployment than a macro BTS, right, site with 30 meter, 50 meters, right? There is no point in deploying this in those sites. It's a pole-based. Now, because it is pole-based, Wi-Fi routers or base stations are typically more compact because the frequency is also compact. So, one thing is that the structure of the network is quite different from other PTS deployment network, which are at lower frequency, because where there are lots of base stations are all aggregated in one single site, and they are either using a ground-based base of tower or a tower which is actually on a rooftop of a building. But Wi-Fi but 26 gigahertz band has to be on a pole based because the base station is going to be pretty compact. So whether you use Wi-Fi or 5G, you are going to you have to follow the same approach. But 5G end devices are quite costly. 5G end devices are very costly because these are millimeter wave device, and the purpose of using 5G is to extract maximum bandwidth from this spectrum, which is 1 gigahertz per operator. Now, if you are going to extract maximum bandwidth and if you have lot of FWA users, then it makes sense to use this band for 5G. But in India's FWA usage is not going to be that much what we expect. It is going to be between 60 million overall broadband. So the FWA bucket is going to be within that 60 million bucket, which is the total broadband subscriber. So we currently already have 40 million broadband subscribers. So I don't think that the bucket for FWA is going to be more than 20 or 25 million. So with a limited FWA base, which is because of the potential paying capacity of the consumers, which can't afford to pay more than 800 rupees. Most of the population can't pay 800 rupees ARPU. Therefore, this universe is quite limited, and that's why using the band, 26 gigahertz band for 5G does not make any sense because the end devices prices are quite high. Using it for Wi-Fi makes sense because it will drive the end device prices low. Because the Wi-Fi devices are cheaper. And then, because the bandwidth of 26 gigahertz band is quite large, 1 gigahertz band, even if you are using that band inefficiently, it will give you sufficient capacity. That is the reason why Jio is going for Wi-Fi in the 26 gigahertz band, not in any other band. Because if they are going to use Wi-Fi in 3.5 gigahertz band, where they have only 100 to 130 megahertz of spectrum, you will never be able to extract or harness the capacity of the spectrum, and therefore it makes sense to deploy 5G in 3.5, and it makes sense to deploy Wi-Fi in 26 gigahertz band because the bandwidth is quite large. Even if the spectrum is used inefficiently, the capacity is large enough to be able to cater for some FWA, because the overall ecosystem of FWA customers are going to be low, because you can't price your broadband services below 800 rupees, and people don't have the potential to pay 800 rupees ARPU, right? Which is typically the case that we have for broadband subscriber. And that is why it might make sense to use this for Wi-Fi, right? Now, the contradiction comes from the following. Now, if you look at, friends, I already did another video, which I'm going to point to, which is India's 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi decision explained. Means India has proposed to de-license 500 megahertz of the total 1200 megahertz of 6 gigahertz band. So I'm going to take you to that slide deck. So this is the slide deck which I had done earlier. So I'll show you that what India is proposing to do. So this is the 6 gigahertz band, right? This is 5 gigahertz band, and the 6 gigahertz band is a band. This is the 6 gigahertz band. So if you look at this, 6 gigahertz band has got 500 megahertz block, right, which is for Wi-Fi, and 700 megahertz for what? For 5G. So this band, the total band, if you add these two bands together, 500 plus 700, it comes out to be 1200. So what the operators are saying, if you go to that article, right, I'm just going to show you that article. So here, what your DOT's operator saying, telcos to challenge DOT's 6 gigahertz delicensing over 5G concern. Now, friends, this is going to be hilarious. 6 gigahertz is also a high frequency band. It is higher than 3.5 gigahertz band. So the total base station density that is going to require in 6 gigahertz band is going to be 2.5 times that of 5 gigahertz band. That is for sure, right? Because you really cannot deploy so many base station in 6 gigahertz band, because you cannot deploy 6 gigahertz band with lower base station count. It has to be much higher, 6 gigahertz band. Now, since 6 gigahertz band base station count has to be higher, therefore, doing a macro deployment in 6 gigahertz band is going to be costly compared to 3.5 gigahertz band. That is for sure. You really cannot have that kind of capability. The second point is that India's 5G, FWA prices, the end devices prices, is already very high. It becomes so difficult to manage 5G device price, and that is one of the reasons why 26 gigahertz band is being thought of for Wi-Fi. Now, if you look at the refarming plan of DOT, they have refarmed out of this 700 megahertz spectrum, they have refarmed roughly around 400 megahertz. So for immediate auction, if you do an immediate auction for 6 gigahertz band, you are not going to get more than 300 to 400 megahertz spectrum. So your chunk of spectrum is going to be anywhere less. Maybe 100 megahertz or 130 or 150 megahertz. So that quantum of spectrum is not going to be suitable for any significant purpose, because you already have 3.5 gigahertz band, right? Around 130. And you are using 26 gigahertz band. So this 6 gigahertz spectrum band is a futuristic band for 6G in future. And since it is going to be a futuristic band for 6G in future, expanding this band in this direction, which is the current 6G band. So this band is going to extend beyond this to a large amount, right? Around 2 gigahertz up to 4800, right? So this is going to give an operator, per operator, 400 to 500 megahertz of spectrum for 6G in near future. And by the time the India's GDP is going to increase, the consumer's potential to buy high-end devices is going to increase, and it makes sense. So you will be able to leverage this band not today, maybe in future. But the question still remains that why then the operators are opposing this 500 megahertz of spectrum? Why not add this and expand this further? The problem is the following, friends. The problem is that today you need both 5G X spectrum for macro deployment as well as you need spectrum for micro deployment within your house. Now, within your house, if you look at the Wi-Fi spectrum, 2.4 is only 80 megahertz, 5 gigahertz band is 600 megahertz and only 405 megahertz contiguous, and 6 gigahertz band is 500 megahertz. Now, if you don't release this spectrum and you focus on 6 gigahertz band to expand it further to get 500 to 600 megahertz per operator, then your within house, you are going to have a bottleneck because your outside speeds are going to become very high. But as soon as you get inside the house, you will have a Wi-Fi bottleneck because your Wi-Fi capacity is going to be too low and you will never be able to use advanced Wi-Fi technology like Wi-Fi 7, which can see all these three bands as one, and you will have the capability to do carrier aggregation. Today, Wi-Fi technology doesn't support that. So when you do carrier aggregation, then you will be able to expand the capacity of Wi-Fi technology within your house to a significant level. So that is going to give you an advantage that not only your outside speeds are going to be very high, but within the house, you are not going to face this bottleneck. So that is as simple as that, friend. And therefore, friends, I find this article, which came out, I don't know which paper it came out. This looks to me a contradiction. This is shooting on your own foot. The operators are shooting on their own foot. I don't know what they're trying to protect. Because this 6 gigahertz band to be opened up for Wi-Fi makes quite a bit of sense in the interest of operators when they are going to use this band in near future for 6G, because they will never be able to use this band today because they already have 300 megahertz of spectrum in 3.5 and they have a huge amount of spectrum in 26 gigahertz band which they are planning to use for Wi-Fi. So that's all, friends. In this video, I thought of pointing to you this contradiction. The first contradiction is very simple, that telcos, it's actually not contradiction. First surprise is, which is not to me a surprise because I already predicted it. The first thing is that telcos are already using 26 gigahertz band or trying to use 26 gigahertz band for Wi-Fi, and maybe Bharti will also fall in line once Jio gets the approval, and they are doing so for the purpose of reducing the cost of end devices. And with the same breath, right, they are talking about preventing the 500 megahertz band for delicensing, which is going to empower the in-building Wi-Fi usage significantly because their outdoor usages are going to give them significant capacity as the 6G comes into picture. And mind you, friends, the 6 gigahertz band, what they have proposed, the government of India has proposed, is prevented this band for outdoor usage. So you can't use that for outdoor usage. So if you can't use this block of spectrum for outdoor usage, what is the point even talking about this band for opening the 1200 megahertz for IMT? Because this block of spectrum probably is used by ISRO. So if ISRO is objecting to this block of spectrum to be used for outdoor, then it anyway can't be used for IMT. So I really don't understand that who has created this strategy when this headline which says that telcos to challenge DOT's 6 gigahertz spectrum delicensing for 5G concern. I don't know who created this strategy. They probably have no clue what they're talking about, friends. So that's all I wanted to talk about, friends. I hope that you like this video. And if you have any question, let me know in your comment section. I'll come back with a new video and a new topic next time. Thank you very much for listening till the end.